Over the past few weeks in the Performance Learning Program, our Grade 10 cohort has investigated the identity of Canada. Through discussions on current events, diversity, and Canadian literature, we have considered individual topics of interest and asked, why does the world need more Canada? I'm your host, Lucas Adamson, and welcome to Guardians of Memory, the day we remember. Once, there was a fellow Canadian lieutenant that went by the name of John McCrae. John served his time and is now recognized as an honorable soldier in the military. In 1915, the Flanders region of Belgium was a war zone that John was serving at the time. While in the heat of battle, John came across the body of a dead soldier, which wasn't necessarily an uncommon sight amidst war. But in the eerie moment, he shockingly realized that's what lied of his good friend Alex Helmer. Attending Helmer's funeral on the fields after the Battle of Ypres, John gazed across the countless rows and rows of deceased soldiers' graves, with poppies growing around each and every one. Eventually, John faced death himself after battling pneumonia, but in memorial of the soldiers who fought at war, he wrote the poem dedicated to them in Flanders Fields. I believe Remembrance Day reflects Canada's deep respect for sacrifice, peace, and unity by honoring its history of bravery and fostering a future of compassion and peacekeeping. Each year, Canadians come together to observe traditions like a 2-minute silence, ceremonies, and memorials at cemeteries and cenotaphs, paying tribute to those who served. It's also an opportunity to educate future generations on the significance of the day and its impact on Canadian identity. Remembrance Day has influenced Canada in an abundance of positive ways. It's bonded us over a collective similarity of family members that fought for our country. Remembrance Day is merely a reflection of the Canadian identity. National recognition of bravery, a peaceful, inclusive society that accepts all. Canada's role as a worldwide representative of human rights and overall freedom. Our ability to cooperate as a team through a collective of ceremonial meetings to wearing a poppy on your shirt. The very first Remembrance Day took place on November 11th, 1931, inspired by the original celebration of Armistice Day, celebrating simply the end of World War I, while Remembrance Day reflecting a much broader purpose of honoring the soldiers who served. Over time, Canada even adopted another stat holiday, recognizing the Indigenous veterans' efforts in World War I, celebrated on November 8th all across the Yukon and the Northwest Territories, and possibly more in the future. Remembrance Day contributes many factors into Canadian identity, including peacekeeping and compassion, which are kind of the underlying themes of this day, those that served in the Great Wars, fought, and sacrificed for the greater good of Canada today, and it is our duty to maintain the peace they created for us. Poppies, wreaths, ceremonies, and bagpipes are all symbols of remembrance and reflection to strive for a better future. It also speaks to Canada's diversity and Canada's open arms towards multiculturalism, as when we reflect on Remembrance Day, we acknowledge all cultures and ethnicities, emphasizing the idea of freedom for all. Overall, Canada's resilience and coping abilities to resolve conflicts and transform it into an educational, peace-motivating, reflective, and bonding tradition displays Canada's will to fight for our peacekeeping legacy, world peace and reconciliation, and fight against glorification of war, aggressive nationalism, and tyranny, all of which are not Canadian morals. Alright, well, thank you all for taking your time and listening to this podcast brought to you by PLP. And we'll meet again in the near future.